no balls spark. You want good words? Data languages.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Count with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Welcome into the Skinny on Sports on 98.1 FM, 1240 AM, KADSD Sports Animal. Jared Atha hanging out with you, waiting on Aaron to come on in. He had to go get his coffee. The guys before us went a little early. We're just scrambling here. It's a Monday. It's a Monday version of the show as Aaron comes on in. I think with the rundown.
Maybe.
I thought you were going to get coffee.
Where are we at now?
The excuse I was using.
No coffee. No coffee.
No coffee was made.
No coffee. Without Sean here, we don't have coffee. Unfortunately. I forget from time to time. Anyhow, welcome. Monday morning, Skinny on Sports, right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Not used to being able to go on it, the proper time.
Right at 9.
The scheduled time.
They usually go long.
Not
today.
But
I have a feeling when football really hits it hard, they're going to go a little bit longer at times on Monday.
One would think.
And we're getting closer to that.
We are getting closer. We got coming up on the show today some golf stuff. Man, how awesome was Victor Hovland yesterday? Just incredible back nine, shooting 28, reeling in the number one player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, to win the second of the third leg of the playoffs. So the Tour Championship up and down in Atlanta coming up this weekend. But that was just an awesome round of golf to watch. And he was, man, it was so weird because it seemed like Scheffler was in cruise control, and then he wasn't. Then all of a sudden there was just nothing you could do about it with a 61 course record, 7 under on the back nine. It was great. Just a great performance by Victor Hovland. And now all of a sudden, you think back to Whistling Straits a couple years ago, the Ryder Cup, in which the Americans just absolutely dominated, and it seemed as if that tide was turning and the Americans were going to start getting the better of Europe. I'd say not so fast with the way that Victor Hovland has come along and maybe some of the guys in the USA camp not at the level that they were a couple of years ago. So I don't know if that's really the case or not, but we'll get Ryder Cup picks next week after the Tour Championship. And so that's getting close to figuring out what the 12 person teams will look like for both sides. So we got that. The U.S. Amateur. I got news for you, Jared. When you do something only Tiger Woods has done in golf, that's pretty good. And that's what we saw this week. We'll tell you what that is. We got some scrimmage notes from Elk City and El Reno. Talk a little bit about that from Friday night. Also, game time for this Friday, week 0 down in Altus, has changed due to the heat. So we'll tell you what that is.
It's probably pretty smart.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, from what we saw
from based on last Friday, whew.
It was hot, obviously.
I've never done a broadcast without my shirt, but I was really thinking about it.
I'm hoping that there will be
little AC
in the
maybe a little breeze. There's not even a breeze, barely a breeze Friday night.
No.
Barely.
It was hot. Is that Hightower Stadium down there?
Oh, man,
I'm pretty sure it is.
I looked this up in preparation for the graphics department and everything. I forgot what it was.
I think it's Hightower. Yeah, Hightower Memorial Stadium in Altus, Oklahoma.
Good job. It's like a trivia question.
Thought I remembered that. It's one of those WPA projects from back in the day.
Yep. It has that feeling, doesn't like when you – yeah, I love those, by the way. You know what they are, those bridges and buildings and, in this case, stadiums. Yeah.
1941.
That's cool. That is cool.
It was built from using rock from the Creta Hills.
Is this a Wikipedia entry that you're looking at?
How
do you just know this?
Sometimes you just know stuff.
No. You don't know this. You're reading it.
From the Altus Public Schools website.
Oh, very good. That's cool. Yeah, so we'll have plenty of time to get down there and get some Whataburger. Right? We could probably leave right at 5 and be okay.
Yeah, so we'll
I'm
tell
anxious,
you that.
though. I'm anxious.
Tell you about kind of what we thought about the scrimmage for the Elks and some things that were good, some things that were not so good, and look ahead to what's coming up on Friday night. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. That is 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. We can talk about any of these things. Whatever else might be on your mind, feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside of the listening area one of these days and you want to stay in touch with the show, easy. Log on to kadsam.com. Download the Paragon app if you'd like to do that. It's free. It's got everything. Radio. It's got the Penny News. And it's got Big Elk and Paragon TV.
I'll see what I can do, Will.
Anyhow, so most of the time you can use the app. It'll be right there at your fingertips. And, of course, like I mentioned, for Friday night, if you can't make it down to Altus, you can use the app to watch on Big Elk TV. And, of course, Skinny on Sports podcast is available each and every day. If you miss a show entirely, you can go back and check it out. Or if you got to get out of the truck and you wanted to hear something we had to say and just weren't able to do it, easy peasy. Just find it everywhere that other podcasts are, and you can go back and listen that way. How are you, Jared?
I'm good.
How was your weekend?
Hot. I'm not telling anything you don't know. How's yours?
It was fine. We had people over, did a bunch of swimming on Saturday, then did a bunch of laying around yesterday.
Yeah, I saw some pictures. Looked like you had fun.
My nieces had never been there.
Oh, boy.
So they got to hang out. Made some chicken and ribs. My sister made some delicious stuffed mushrooms. Stuffed it with with the spinach and artichoke dip.
That is good stuff.
They were good. My mom made some potatoes, some homemade ice cream. It was just it was fun. We had a good time. The meat was good. Everything was good. Everything was really, really good. My wife made this Fiesta dip that we came across when we went to Alva.
Fiesta dip?
Yep.
Well, what is in that?
I don't know. She made it, not me.
Well, next time I see her, I'll ask her what she put in there.
It is, we discovered that it seems like up there you were dipping like Ruffles or Lay's, maybe tortilla chips.
Yeah?
We bought some Fritos. We thought, you know what, maybe Fritos, the corn chips, maybe that'll work for this. And it seemed to go off without a hit. I mean, just a total hit with the Fritos.
That sounds good.
So, and
Sounds
she
real
always
good.
makes her black bean and corn dip, which is one that people like. So, yeah, we had a good time. Homemade ice cream, that was the first of that I've had all summer long.
Well, that's good. Homemade ice cream's the best.
Strawberry
Just-
banana.
Yeah, what kind?
Strawberry banana. Yep.
That's a good combo.
Butterfinger is a normal choice.
Yeah?
But with allergies,
No, of course.
Wyatt's allergies, had to go with the strawberry banana.
Cool.
It was good.
We did, on Saturday night, I bought this pizza maker, grill combo thing. So we made homemade pizzas, made the dough and all that stuff. And that turned out really well. It smelled like a pizza restaurant in my backyard.
The pizzeria in Canute.
So once the sun went down and made pizza and watched the Dallas game because it was a late kickoff. Once the sun went down, it was actually not too bad. But the pizza, man, I enjoyed that a lot. I was real worried. Like, am I doing this right? Is it going to stick on the pizza stone? And we made sure it didn't. And then after, because Katie had a friend over, so each one made their own pizza. And about the third one in, you can start to smell. It's like, oh, it smells like a pizza joint here. It's pretty fun. Good stuff too. It was fun. I'm going to learn how to do like a calzone or something, and do that in that pizza oven. But no, it was a pretty uneventful weekend. Got the mow again and Practice yesterday, that was brutal with the heat. But that's about it. And, of course, a scrimmage on Friday night.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So Elk City went over to El Reno to be the only scrimmage. There's 2 weeks' worth of scrimmaging, but the Elks will play a real game on Friday in week 0. By the way, let's get that out of the way. The game down in Altus, originally scheduled for 7 o'clock on Friday night, that has been pushed back to 8 o'clock. So an 8 o'clock kick between the Elks and the Altus Bulldogs coming up on Friday night due to extreme heat that's supposed to be kind of hanging around for at least another week here in the state of Oklahoma. And as you know, if it's 101 here, you can probably book on about 105 to 108 there. It's weird, but it's not that far away.
It's not taking into account the heat index.
And then, of course, the heat index.
Yeah.
So there'll be an 8 o'clock kick between the Elks and the Altus Bulldogs coming up on Friday night. So that has been changed. They have moved that back an hour with hopes of, like you said, the sun starts going down a little closer to 8:30 now, and hopefully, that'll cool things off as much as it can because, like you say, it was brutal on Friday up in El Reno with the heat and humidity and the lack of wind. It was just, it was like being in a sauna. Man, I thought that El Reno came out.
Again, I just looked it up. Altus Friday,
Yeah.
106.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's going to be hot. And so trying to get
This is important for player safety. That's what it ultimately is. It's got to take care of these kids because that stuff is it is dangerous stuff. We kind of got witness of that Friday night, and I'm okay with this. I'd rather stay out late Friday night and play under the Friday night lights and not under the sun. So I'm good with this. This is a good idea.
this Friday, or last Friday, I guess, up in El Reno, I thought El Reno was way, way more aggressive, especially in the early going. So here, kind of the schedule of events, the way they played out was each team ran 10 plays, at least with the varsity. Each team ran 10 plays of offense. Then the JV guys and the ninth graders got out there. Then when the varsity came back, they ran 8 plays apiece. Then they had a JV and ninth grade period again. And then the last 2 kind of sets was Elk City got the ball at the El Reno 40 and tried to make a drive in. Then El Reno got it, and then they took a little break, and then the same thing happened again. For sure in the first 2 periods, and really the first 3 before that last set of drives, it just seemed like El Reno was much more physical. They were much more into it. I thought the Elks were kind of flat. And I don't know if that's emotional or if that's just because there's new guys out there that haven't been in that situation yet. And so, maybe the emotion of it wasn't as different as it looked between the 2 teams because one was comfortable with what was happening, the other one was thinking and trying to figure out what, where to be, what to do, and that kind of slows everything down. But I did think the Elks, as it wore on, got more into it, got more comfortable. Some guys there was a bunch of guys that you haven't seen a ton of, names just because, either spot duty or in some mop-up situations a year ago. But now you're going to hear these names from the very beginning, and I think there's flat out going to be some growing pains on both sides of the ball, I think, with what Elk City's got coming back or the lack thereof. The talent, I think, is there. This will be a team, I believe, that when you watch the Altus game this Friday and then you tune in to watch the John Marshall game at the end of the season, the last regular season game, I think you'll kind of be looking around going, man, I can't believe that's the same team. Just as guys figure it out, the light bulb goes on for some different players at different positions. It just haven't been out there. But, it did get better as it went on. The Elks scored there on their last possession of the game and then got a stop on 4th and 1. Alonzo Gino made a tackle in the backfield to hold El Reno, from a first down there on 4th and 1. So there were some good signs, but I think overall it's going to take a little bit, and I think that's just going to be the story of this season is how much improvement can be made by the time the games really starts to count, and by the time you get rolling into what you hope is another playoff berth.
And if you went into this, that's something you always have to tell yourself. I mean, here I am. I've been watching football forever, and it's easy to get excited about a scrimmage because it's the first time you're popping pads against an opponent and not your own team and all this. So as a fan, if you're going into this thinking this is what we're going to expect all season long, it's not. We barely saw any of the playbook on both sides. And like I'm with you, there's going to be some growing pains involved because there are going to be some roles that need to be filled. But and I'm with you. We're going to see that growth throughout the season going in. And Coach Maynard will tell you, he said, listen, these Altus and Canadian and Carl Albert, Bridge Creek, that these are games that are getting us ready for district. So that's when I'm anxious to see, obviously, Friday night. But even then, I'm like thinking, we're not going to see the entire playbook. But I want to see these guys get some reps, see what they can give us later when in the season when we're competing for a district title, hopefully. So, but I was pleased with last Friday night. We saw some things that we did expect, like Garbarino with that nice run for the touchdown. The defensive stuff you mentioned, Gino. There was stuff I expected to see, and they stood out. They did what I expected them to see, and I'm anxious to see because those are what we expected. Now I'm anxious to see who's going to step up. Quarterback, who stuff like that, wide receiver, who's going to step up and become that next thing. Okay, that guy's filling that void. He's the guy. He's the dude. I'm looking forward to him the rest of the year. We might see flashes of that between now and the first district game.
Yeah, and I think that another thing that you kind of forget a little bit until some of those guys aren't there is just, okay, who's not only the roles on the field, physically playing the game, but also the mental side of it, the leadership side of replacing some of those guys. When you watched on Big Elk TV for the last couple of years, those names that you heard for years and years have now moved on. You don't have Mason. You don't have Corey from 2 years ago. Last year you don't have Sammy or Levy or whoever else it might be that was right there in filling that void. The leadership roles, I think, is another thing that's going to take a little bit to figure out who that is and kind of get things going the way that you want them to go, right? And so there's just a lot of you kind of forget, I think, just a little bit on some of those things because you're just so used to seeing certain guys. Mm-hmm. And then when they're gone, you immediately think about the playing part of it, right? And okay, who's gonna make those tackles that Sammy would make,
right?
But you may forget about, okay, what about him leading that team? And I thought you saw some guys attempting to do that. You're gonna have to. It's just there's new guys and new places, and somebody. And I think Garbarino's probably the one that you would come to mind first, especially on the defensive side with playing back in the at that safety spot, making sure everybody's lined up, making sure everybody kind of knows what's going on, and on play in, play out. And so those are the things that I think you'll see as this team grows. Those things will become more apparent, and I even think you saw it a little bit in progress from the first defensive plays till that fourth down stop at the end. I think you saw guys kind of get out there against other people. Oh, this is faster than I thought. Catch up, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, I can do this. I thought defensively, especially defensively, you saw from the first 10 plays till that last drive a drastic difference in the speed with which the Elks were playing defensively.
Yeah, I also enjoyed the competitive nature that they brought. It's easy to not get up for a scrimmage, but those 40-yard drives for both teams, you saw some extra hits, you saw some extra stuff happening after the whistle, and that's football. I get it. It's football. There's it was hot and tempers were flared up, But I enjoy it. That tells me you got a team that's wanting to go out, wanting to compete, wanting to hit, wanting to make the right plays, not liking it if they gave up like a 5-yard gain or something like that, or if they felt like they were blocked in the back and they took exception to it. Stuff like that. I mean, it's easy just to, well, whatever, it's a scrimmage. Whatever. I didn't see that. That comes from the coaching. They keeping that edge on them, keeping that competitiveness, that drive in them, and I really enjoyed seeing that too on Friday night.
Yeah, and that's something that I think it's going to have to continue to evolve and improve, so that it doesn't take that long to get into the fight, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think if there's one thing that a little bit disappointing was that how long it took for it seemed like the Elks to just go ahead, okay, engage. Mm-hmm. They're rubbing your nose in it. How long are you going to let them do it?
Well, I think that, again,
type deal
goes back to the coaching.
Yeah.
Brought them over and go, you guys here to work, or you guys here just to go through the motions? And that, I think it lit a fire.
Yeah, I think Scott's right. Sometimes you just have to get hit in the mouth for that switch to come on. And I think, with as hot as it was, there's no excuses. But I think that took probably longer than what they would like to have seen from a coaching perspective. Schedule-wise, we talked about this a bunch during the scrimmage. I think the schedule is really beneficial, especially in the non-district, right? The way it sets up. You're going to have what most people think is going to be a much improved Altus team. Coach Reed is back. He was the guy that was at the helm when the Bulldogs were competing for and winning a state title back in the early part or the middle part of the 2010s decade. So he's back. How fast can he turn them around to getting where they were? You have a hard time believing it would be this quick, but I think we're going to see definite improvement from Altus. So that'll be a tough challenge going down there in that stadium. Then you get Bridge Creek, and then all of a sudden, Canadian and Carl Albert back to back. It's I think it's going to be just a gradual have to step up, right? I mean, I think the way it would be exactly like that if these first two were switched. I think Altus is going to be a better team than Bridge Creek, quite honest. But outside of that, though, you're just going to see kind of a, and then by the time you play these first two, that third week when you go out to the Panhandle of Texas, it's going to get serious with the opponents and the ability that those last two teams have leading into the off week, which then you start district play with Clinton.
We mentioned it last year. I've lost count because Carl Albert won the title last year. The total amount of titles between Canadian, Carl Albert, of course, Clinton, it's through the roof, and that means the competitiveness is going to be awesome. You want that. I mean, you want it to make you a better team. I think it reflected last year and even the year before. So this is the games you want. Most people look at non-district play and go, well, these should be cakewalks. They're non-district, but I love that. I love the scheduling. I really, really do. It comes from, and I love the mix. The styles that we're going to go up against. Altus is,
I assume, back to that
kind of
what we do,
that running stuff, and then we know Canadian, they're going to whip it all around the field, Texas Tech style. And Carl Albert, they're kind of more of a traditional pro form, kind of like a D1 college almost.
Pro style.
Yeah, pro style. And then Clinton with the they do a lot of variations, but they always stick with the sweep, the I formation sweep. But I like all of that. I like all of what we're seeing because it prepares you better down the road. It's not just the same style ever. So it's great scheduling to go get those guys.
Now, Canadian would be 3A. They're 3A out in Texas, and usually they end up in 3A Division II, which is even the smaller Texas schools. Altus is shotgun spread team now. I just got that text from somebody that will know.
Really?
Yeah. So that is
something else.
A different challenge for sure than what. But I think at the end of the day, what last Friday is doing in these first 4 weeks is getting young guys, building depth, and getting them ready to play for when the games start counting, and that's over at the Tornado Bowl in Clinton for the district play. Sure, do you want to go 4-0, win every one of these games, and make an unbelievably huge statement in that game 4? Absolutely. But even if you go 4-0 in those non-district games, does it guarantee you anything come playoff time? No. And vice versa, if you lose them all, does it mean you can't make the playoffs? No. And so I think that, yeah, you want to come out on top because you're competing and, they keep score, obviously. But at the end of the day, getting these guys ready, the ones that need to be ready, the ones that, just getting reps after reps after reps and getting more comfortable in what's going on and the speed of the game and how much different it has been than what these guys have seen in some new spots. That's the most important part of what's going to happen over the next 4 weeks. And it starts in Altus Friday night at 8.
Everyone looks around. Obviously, we're looking. I didn't really concern myself with it until Daniel brought it up. God, at that point, it was like Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But how the other scrimmages went, he went in. And, makes a lot of sense. Still go back and watch Weatherford Altus because two common opponents right there, one non-district opener and the other one in district play. So he gave us notes on that one. I can't find anything. What happened with Clinton and Newcastle? No clue. I'm sure people would be asking us, and there's my answer. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. But I didn't know about the Altus changing up their offense. Shotgun, throw it around.
Yeah, I'll start watching some of that.
Kind of disappointed me.
I'll start watching some of that today.
Actually,
with access to some of the scrimmage notes, and we'll have a lot. We have all week, but we'll have a better idea of exactly what it looked like.
But the problem is, sure, you're watching a scrimmage, but is that what you're going to get in Friday night or in week whatever when we play Clinton and Weatherford? It isn't totally different.
Yeah, you're never really going to know until the bullets start flying for real.
Yeah.
We'll be back, Skinny on Sports, right here on The Sports Animal. It's almost here.
In motion is Patton. It's going to be that trap play to Garbarino up the middle. At the 30, 35-40, 45-50, 45-40, 35-30, 25-20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Big Elks! Cooper Garbarino, 77 yards.
We're closing in on the start of Big Elk football, which means Big Elk TV will be on the air before you know it.
Wynn and Garza are the running backs. Jones under center. Austin, snap, turn, hand off to Wynn. Jaden piles toward. It's a touchdown for the Big Elks.
You'll be able to watch and see if Coach Maynard's brown and white clad Elks can continue their winning ways.
Snap back, play action, lobs it toward the end zone. He's got a man. It's a touchdown for the Big Elks. Tucker Garza.
To get your business on the Big Elk TV screen, call 225-9696 or stop by our office at 220 South Pioneer.
Are you crying? Are you crying?
Skinny on Sports.
There's no crying in baseball.
Welcome back, Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM, The Sports Animal, hanging out on a Monday morning. Hey, don't forget, Western Oklahoma Realty College Pick'em. It does not start this weekend with Week 0 games in college football. It starts Labor Day weekend, but it's all year long. From opening weekend through conference championship, weekend. And we got an awesome prize pack. Winner will receive $400. Second place will get $200. Third place will get $100. And then whoever manages to pick every game and have the worst record will also get $100. Because it's just as hard to get them all right as it is to get them all wrong. And you can try it. Maybe that's what, maybe somebody's goal will be to try to get them all wrong from the very beginning. It
won't work. You'll still get some right.
You'll figure out just exactly how hard it is to either get them all wrong or get them all right.
You want my advice on how to do really bad in this thing? Pick as early as you can and just shoot from the hip. Don't even do any homework on it. If one looks like a surefire pick it, because then it'll be wrong. That's what happens to me every year.
I wonder if someone will try to miss them on purpose.
I hope not.
Sometimes you got to know your lane to be in, Jared.
I'm counting how many we got. Did you do that?
Well, it tells you.
Oh, my goodness.
It says group size 45.
Oh, well, duh. It's right there. That's
It's
pretty
right
good.
there. Let's go. I
pretty
thought
good.
we would get closer to 100. Everybody may be waiting, thinking they got some sort of advantage to sign up later on. Western Oklahoma Realty College. Pick 'em thinking of Tyler, Robbie, all the gang at Western Oklahoma Realty. People before property is their motto. Let's see, Jared. What caught your eye over the weekend? Anything?
We mentioned Hovland.
We
Hovland was awesome. My phone was blowing up as that was taking place.
That was one of the best rounds you'll ever see. I mean, just lit the back nine especially on fire. He had 12 threes on his scorecard. It's hard for that number to get very high. You know, that final number you write down at the end? If you've got 12 threes.
Right.
I think he made 8 of them on the back nine. The only 4 he had was a birdie on a par 5 instead of an eagle. Outside of that, he made a 3 on every other hole.
It's incredible. Now, you know, he's doing this, but I want to see it translate into a major.
He's been close.
He's been really close. He's been, you know, we've ripped him about his chipping.
That's gotten way better.
It's gotten better. He's dropping them in there better. So I want to see it translate into that. We'll see. Anyone else outside of Hovland stand out to you?
You know,
didn't I see Ricky was doing some things?
He ended up like middle of the pack, maybe. Scheffler is just it is just crazy how well that dude hits it and how poorly at times he could putt. I actually thought he putted way better than he has been. But then you see, you know, he has a chance to on 15, the par 5, he got lucky on a poor tee shot that kind of hit a limb, and now it's in the fairway. He hit it way up there by the green. That those guys on the broadcast were just thinking he was going to lay it up. Next thing you know, he hammers it down there, and he's 30 yards off the front of the green or whatever it was. And, didn't hit the best chip, and then that's where the putter started going sideways. And it was a perfect time if you want to play into the, as pressure mounts, the stroke starts to get bulky. Because 15, he had a chance from, after a poor chip, 15 feet missed. 16, the par 3, he hit it in there to about 8 feet, missed. 17, he misses a 5-footer for par that essentially ended the tournament, because at that point then he and Fitzpatrick were going to have to make twos from the make it from the fairway to tie. In 18, by that time the tournament was over. But it was kind of interesting to me that during the day yesterday, as he was building that 2-shot lead, he looked great. He looked great with the putter. But then when Victor started making that run and narrowing the gap, and that's when all of a sudden how we've seen Scottie Scheffler putt all year long and kind of came back. And you look at his ball striking stats. If he could just putt average, like tour average for the week, tournament average for the week, he would have won about 8 times.
Yeah.
But those are Hovland, man, he looks really good. Coming out of OSU as the USAM champ, there was a lot of expectations of him kind of doing what he's started to do now. He came out, went through a little lull where it's like, oh, man, what's wrong with Victor? Now here he's, got his thing, got everything back in shape. And, you see this from time to time, I think, with these guys, especially the guys that have a glaring weakness like he did with the short game. And they spend so much time working on that to try to, raise that level that some other things suffer. And maybe that was part of, that little bit of a lull in his career because he was working so hard to figure out how to chip, how to pitch, how to get that part of his game back or get it to a level that it ought to be with a guy that can play like that, a guy that can ball strike like that, that then it kind of the other parts of the game suffer. There's just not enough time, there's just not enough time, right?
Right.
And so that could be a part of what we saw. And now that he feels more comfortable with the things that he changed around the greens, he's back to his normal practice routine, and all of a sudden now you see him leading the field in driving accuracy for the week. And with the way that guy can hit it, if he's able to, the few times that he's a little offline, then turn those into pars instead of losing ground every time he misses the green, he hits it good enough to where it's going to be hard to beat him. And I think that's what we're starting to see, him turn his game and kind of blossom into the player that most people thought he could be when he came out of OSU. But man, he was really good yesterday. And when you think ahead to what's coming with the Ryder Cup, it looks so much more promising for the Europeans right now than I ever would have thought it could after Whistling Straits 2 years ago. I mean, that was a beatdown. The Americans had all these bullets in their chamber with young guys playing so well. And even, and there was a handful of them that weren't even there, right? I mean, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be, the U.S. is about to start a pretty good run. Fast forward 2 years and, will Justin Thomas even make the team? I think the live stuff hurts the Americans more than what it hurts the Europeans, because you think about Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, who fell out of the top 6, so he's not automatic. Does that mean that Zach Johnson will choose not to pick him because he's not you know what I'm saying? But you think about those 4 guys at the last Ryder Cup were the guys were 4 of the guys making the difference, and now you may not see any of those guys on this team for whatever different circumstance. Patrick Reed's another one that has become a guarantee for the American side. He's on live. You just don't know. And I would imagine, I think Koepka's going to get to go. I think he is. The PGA of America is kind of the partner on the Ryder Cup. So are they really not going to have their champion on the team? Or will it be the PGA Tour that gets the final say? And that which means probably not. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Koepka's in?
I'd put him in.
Well, I know you would, but do you think they will?
Yeah, I do. I think he's too good to keep out, despite where he fell over the weekend. I think they put him in. Do you?
I think so.
Would you?
Oh, I would.
Okay.
1,000,000%. I think they will because he did win the PGA. And the PGA of America is so intertwined with the Ryder Cup. I think they'll want no matter what the PGA Tour wants, I think that the PGA of America will get their way and their champion will be there, and it'll make the team better. Another guy that I think it's going to be hard to keep off, but he might get kept off, is Bryson. Bryson's played great, and he's such an asset in a lot of ways in that team golf, but does anybody like him? And that's the thing. You look at the Ryder Cup guys on the European side. Even yesterday, Fitzpatrick. I don't know if you saw what he told Victor Hovland, what he called him. We can't say it, but just a little jab at him. But it was playful, like, "Way to go, dude, you little S," because he came, roaring back and overcame that deficit. But there seems like there's so much more camaraderie. Always has seemed like this on that side than there is in the American side, and that's what's so, I think, disappointing, because it did feel like the Americans had that in the last Ryder Cup. Like, everybody was pulling on the same rope, and you had guys that were buddies playing well together, and now you don't. I don't know. It feels like that's all been kind of fractured with the way that the live stuff has happened. So I bet Koepka's there. I would bet against DeChambeau being there, even though I think he probably should. And then outside of that, I don't know if you're going to see anybody else in serious consideration from the live side of things, at least for the Americans. And then on the other side, what about Sergio? Sergio's been causing a bit of a stink about how he should be there, and he's not. He hadn't played very well. Oh yeah. I guess he tried to make Luke Donald guarantee him a spot 6 months ago, and Luke Donald's like, "I can't do that." Who knows what's going to happen between now and then? And Sergio, as in true Sergio fashion, is being a giant baby about it. I don't know.
Wow.
Maybe
I missed that.
Maybe Sergio can take down the Europeans easier than the American team can.
Yeah. If I'm an American, I want him on the team, right?
I do.
Yeah, exactly. Very beatable.
But he's one of those guys. Doesn't matter how bad he's playing. And Ian Poulter's another one, even though Poulter played great this weekend. It's like it doesn't seem to matter how bad they are all for 2 straight years. They can be awful. And once the Ryder Cup, you put a tee in the ground, it's like Poulter's eyes bug out even further than normal, and he just becomes this putting machine that takes down the entire team. It's crazy. And Sergio's been that way too. He's been really, really, really good in those Ryder Cup situations. Is Sergio the biggest crybaby in golf for 15 years? Yes. I don't think anybody even rivals. Nobody's even close. All right, let's take a break.
Trying to think of anyone, no one to that level. We've had some crybabies.
Colin Montgomery, but he was like the 15 years prior.
Fat Pat.
He doesn't cry. He just cheats. He's just a big giant cheater.
I was giving you an opportunity to rip him. I know you can't stand the guy.
We'll be back. It's almost here.
In motion is Patton. It's going to be that trap play to Garbarino up the middle. That's a 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Big Elks. Cooper Garbarino, 77 yards.
We're closing in on the start of Big Elk football, which means Big Elk TV will be on the air before you know it.
Wynn and Garza are the running backs. Jones under center. Austin, snap, turn, hand off to Wynn. Jaden piles toward. It's a touchdown for the Big Elks.
You'll be able to watch and see if Coach Maynard's brown and white clad Elks can continue their winning ways.
Snap back, play action, lobs it toward the end zone. He's got a man. It's a touchdown for the Big Elks. Tucker Garza.
To get your business on the Big Elk TV screen, call 225-9696 or stop by our office at 220 South Pioneer.
The Skinny on Sports.
It's in the holes.
Here we go. Welcome back. Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM, the sports animal. Don't forget the breaking news of the day is Friday night's football game between Elk City and Altus will be moved back an hour. The start time is moved back an hour because of the extreme heat that has been predicted all week here in the state of Oklahoma. So that will be an 8 o'clock kick, 8 p.m. kick for the Big Elks and the Altus Bulldogs coming up on Friday night.
Does Altus have turf? I don't think they did when we were there last.
Yes, I believe they do.
Did they go back? Did they go to turf?
Yes.
Well, that's another big reason why to change it.
Looking at these
pictures of their stadium and stuff.
Yeah, pictures of Hightower Stadium. Well, now I believe they do. Here's one. Just don't know how. No, that's grass there. This looks like turf. Oh, but that's Bulldogs. It's in Springdale, different stadium.
Oh,
it looked. This,
where was the
this
Weatherford
picture,
Altus scrimmage at?
I think it was at Weatherford.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it was in Altus last year.
Gotcha.
It looks like grass. It definitely looks like grass.
I went to like Google Maps. You could do the satellite aerial, and it was grass, but that doesn't mean that they don't have turf now.
Yeah,
but
it's just hard to tell how long ago these were. But yeah, there's definitely grass in some of these pictures I'm looking
well,
at.
It's actually kind of a relief because that turf
makes it less hot. You'd
pretty
think.
Dang hot.
Well, what did Daniel say? He shot the turf Friday night. Is what 125?
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
Wyatt said it was hot.
Oh, I bet
He said, "Man, it was hotter than like baseball." Like, well, you got a whole bunch of more stuff on than baseball.
Got pads and a helmet. Yeah. Well, I'm glad they're doing this again. Very glad.
Yeah. So 8 o'clock. That means what? 7:15 maybe for the pregame.
Yeah.
7:15 pregame ahead of that 8 o'clock kick for the Elks.
And we'll call ahead if they do
Altus.
not have AC. I very well could buy a little portable AC unit. I mean, last Friday, or I can go topless if no one's offended.
We were there last time we were there. They had AC. They had AC.
I can't remember. I remember getting in trouble getting on air. But that was, 4 or 5 years ago. That wasn't their fault, but I can't remember. And they did have a bathroom there in the press box.
It has a whole bunch of rooms in that press box.
Yeah. It was a nice little press box.
Whole bunch. So anyhow, that'll be 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock kick for the Elks and Altus. Okay, here's I mentioned when you do something that only Tiger Woods has done.
Yeah, well, yeah, what is that?
Do you know what it is?
No.
So Nick Dunlap won the U.S. Amateur at Cherry Hills yesterday. He beat Neil Shipley 4-3. Dunlap plays at Alabama, 19 years old. He joins Tiger Woods as the only players ever to win the Junior Amateur and the U.S. Amateur. So he won the U.S. Junior, and now he's won the U.S. Am.
It's pretty good.
Only he and Tiger. You know the difference between he and Tiger?
Besides their bank account, I don't know. What?
Tiger won 3 straight U.S. Juniors and then followed it up with 3 straight U.S. Amateurs. This guy just won one of each.
Yeah.
But still, when you're the only guy other than Tiger Woods to do something in the game of golf, that's pretty incredible. And you know what? He started out, he was like 5 over through 7 holes in his first round of stroke play. To even get to the match play bracket, he turned that thing around that quick. And then beat Gordon Sargent in the first round, which could have been Gordon Sargent's #1 amateur in the world. That could have easily been the final. You know, a lot of people were fired up about that match. Mm-hmm. And there he went. Carried himself all the way through. So Nick Dunlap is the U.S. Amateur champ. He and Tiger, only ones to do that. Okay, here I've been thinking about how to set this game up that you and I are going to play.
Game.
Yeah, we're going to play a game with picking conference championship winners in college football.
In college football, okay.
Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to let's talk it through here on the template of it. So I want us to have. I can't decide if we need to have $100 total or just $100 per conference. I'm really kind of leaning toward $100 total for the 5 Power 5 conferences. But it doesn't mean you have to spend your $20 each.
So it's based
each
on
conference.
confidence, is what you're saying.
Well, it's going to be based on the odds. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the conference title odds for each conference, and then you can decide. I mean, if you have an extreme amount of confidence that, say, Texas is going to win the Big 12, and they're 2-1, well, you can bet your $100 all on Texas, and you can end up with $200 at the end.
I got you.
If you're not as confident about that, and say you want to move it around, but you like somebody kind of out of the pack and somebody in one of these conferences that have better odds, say you're not totally sure, but it's worth $10 on somebody that's 8-1 or what have you.
Right.
Then maybe you can fire some money there. And so I think that's how I want to do it. The only thing that concerns me is if you like one team and you just bet all your 100, well, then you're not going to talk about the rest of the conferences.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'd rather us have the freedom to do such a thing, and then we can, you can discuss the rest.
I'm a horrible gambler, but I think I can follow along here. Are we doing this now, or are we just?
We're not going to do it right now. We're going to have time. I don't even know what the odds are. I haven't seen them.
All the Power Fives?
Power Fives.
Gotcha.
So we'll do ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, and the SEC. That's what we'll do.
Gotcha.
And you'll have $100 to divvy up however you want to, and everybody out there can play as well. For instance, if you look up and you see Northwestern, 2-10 last year, brand new coach. Man, I feel good about them at 40-1. You can divvy out some of your money that way. We'll use an agreed upon site. That way we both have the same, we're looking at the same odds.
Same odds, yeah.
Yeah. Because we want to do that. We want to look at the same odds. And then we'll write it down, and then at the end we'll see how much of that, see what you did with that 100. And that'll be who wins.
Okay.
Anything else from the weekend? NFL? Another week worth of preseason games?
Not really. Watch Dallas. They're not playing Dak. They're not playing any of the stars for a second week in a row. So it is what it is. Really, the only one I really paid attention to, other than what was the game right before it? Losing my mind. I can't think. The guy who's standing out for me, anyways. Where'd that go? And I know he's not going to be the starting quarterback, but he's had a nice couple of preseason games. Thompson Robinson, DTR, over at Cleveland. Solid guy. He's played nice. They tied the Eagles over the weekend. Listen, preseason, it is what it is. I'm not too excited about it. I will pay attention tonight to the Ravens-Commanders game because I want to see if the Ravens will lose. I'll be rooting for Washington in that one just to see the Ravens lose a preseason game so we can stop pretending it's a thing. They don't get a medal for it. There's no trophy for having a winning streak in preseason.
24 in a row. It's still pretty crazy.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Preseason games. Preseason doesn't excite. It's an appetizer that hardly fills you up before the main course.
It seems
it is what it is.
It seems like this year, more than any other year I can think of. So, like, these teams are using those joint practices as their real work for their real guys, which almost makes the preseason games themselves even more of a it's not a tune-up for the better players. It's an audition for the bottom of the roster, Which makes it even that much more or that much less entertaining in my mind because you're not seeing what you think you might see in the regular season, even as much as you did before. So I don't know how much of a trend that is, if that's just a this year thing, but I have a feeling that may become a little bit more of a trend where it's a little bit more controlled in those practices than it is in a full-out preseason game. I think that it doesn't eliminate, but it lessens the risk of injury a little bit more. And at the end of the day, that's the goal of all of this, right? Is to get as much work done ahead of the 10th of September with as little injury trouble as possible.
Right. My favorite thing the last few years, and for a lot of years for some, a preseason is Hard Knocks. I've enjoyed I've watched both episodes so far, and that intrigues me. It's like, oh, the Jets are on. Well, I might watch them a little bit because I've been watching Hard Knocks. But I don't get excited when I see football on the screen. It's a preseason game. I'll watch it, but I'm not. Whatever. Well, it is what it is. I mean, when like Cowboys, I'm like, all right, Cowboys are on. It's 9:00. I got nothing else to do. I'll watch this. But you're not seeing Dak. You're not seeing CD. You're not seeing Parsons. You're not seeing any of those guys. But you're watching the backups, and it is what it is.
Well, and used to, you could guarantee that third preseason game was kind of the dress rehearsal. The starters played the first half. A lot of times they would play the first drive of the third quarter just to kind of go through the halftime to get started back. And then, of course, the fourth game you'd see nobody. It's like these joint practices have kind of taken the place of some of that. And, I think we'll see a little bit of some of these guys this week, but not a lot. And
would you ever pay money to go to a preseason game?
No.
I wouldn't.
But at the same time, for the experience, it's the cheapest you'll ever get. It's the cheapest way to ever go watch an NFL game, or at least be, whatever experience that could be. By the way, we buried the lead, Jared. Sure, you've been trying to avoid this topic.
We got to go. It's 10:00.
Sure, you've been trying to avoid this topic.
I was hoping we would. Yeah.
What happened? What happened in Arlington?
They're struggling. Rangers struggling. Swept by the Brewers. Lost 4 in a row now. Yeah.
My Brew Crew swept your Rangers.
Hopefully. I mean, it's not that it's a bad time of the year to start struggling, but hopefully they get over this quick.
4-6 in their last 10.
And that's
Good
right.
news.
I did sit down Saturday afternoon.
You sent me a text.
I said, "Hey, this is on," and then right off the bat, quite literally, lead off homer or second. It was a second bat. No, it was a third batter. He with 2 strikes on him.
Was that against Scherzer, or Scherzer was yesterday?
That was yesterday. It was against not Heaney. He started Friday. Anyways, but then my wife was like, "Hey, you want to go to a movie?" Like, yeah, let's go. So we took the kids to a movie. Saw Ninja Turtles. Much more enjoyable than that Ranger game. We'll see what happens.
Don't look now, but here come the Mariners. It's been kind of the Astros, right?
Mariners
Mariners swept Houston.
Mariners are hot. Yeah.
1-6 straight, 7-3.
There's a series coming up with
10.
the Rangers too, with the Mariners and Houston. I mean, the AL West is wide open right now. Wide open. It's gonna be fun. Next month and a half is gonna be a blast.
It's the playoff percentages from one week to the next for Texas have gone down significantly. It's crazy how much it's dropped, even though they still have a 3-game lead in the loss column.
We'll see if they can figure it out. It's more or less the bats problem than the Scherzer was good yesterday. Just the bats weren't there for him.
Brewers finally have gotten above 500 in the run, or above even in the run differential. All it took was a series with the Rangers.
It's crazy.
The Cubbies keep kind of staying there too. About the time you look up and thinking, oh yeah, it's looking pretty good for Milwaukee. Boy, the Cubs are right there. 2 back.
It's game week. I'm excited. Elk City Friday, then Saturday we could watch some college football. Navy and Notre Dame. Saturday afternoon from Ireland.
That'd be cool.
That's gonna be fun.
I hope Notre Dame.
No interest in watching USC at night.
I hope Notre Dame wears their green jerseys.
Oh, man, you'd think so. In Ireland? Come on. You got to.
I think so, too.
And then on the 31st, on Thursday night, next Thursday, how about this to start off the week 1 slate? Florida and Utah.
Oh, really? Whoa.
Thursday night game at 7 o'clock on ESPN.
It'll be right there when the Elk City Bridge Creek game's going on.
They do play on Thursday.
Yeah.
That's right. Got all these Thursday night games this year. That's right.
There's a Friday night OSU game.
There is. There's
October 6th, but that's the Elk City's off. That's Clinton Weatherford night.
There's a Friday OU game and on Black Friday.
Black Friday.
We're going to have 1 week. We're going to have a game every night of the week.
That'd have been the same. What, semifinal Friday? I think so.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
All right, everybody have a great Monday. We'll be back tomorrow right here on the Skinny on Sports.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball is blistered